Boa tarde. Good afternoon, Juan. All right. It's 5 p.m. now. We're just starting, giving a couple more minutes for people to join. More people. We have quite a bunch of people already. It's exciting. Sergio, I think you're now an official panelist.
I am indeed.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, everyone. How are you, Rogerio?
I'm good. How about you?
Feeling good? Feeling good. We can
Good.
see a lot of
Yeah.
people here attending. Thank you very much. Give me 1 second.
Good and sunny today. Yeah, everyone, if you want to say, where are you watching this from? We are in Amsterdam, sunny Amsterdam today, surprisingly.
Mhm. Very much.
Oh, São Paulo. Boa. Dublin, also sunny in Dublin. Nice. That's also rare, right? Sunny Amsterdam. Yeah. Sunny Essex for a change. Nice. Nice to see that it's sunny everywhere. And then still you guys prefer to be here watching with us. That's nice. That's exciting. All right, so I think let's get started with introduction. More people will join, but first I'll just introduce ourselves. Hello, my name is Rogerio. I'm the CTO and co-founder of LangWatch, and accompanying me is Sergio. Sergio, if you want to give a few words.
Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Sergio. I'm from Chile. I'm a software engineer in LangWatch. I have a background in cloud architecture and software engineering. Previously, I was working as a founder and CTO of a successfully acquired startup. And now currently working as a software engineer in LangWatch, helping people, companies to improve their AI solutions.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Sergio.
Yeah.
And me, I had before 15 years experience as a software engineer. And to the teams that I were, I was always the guy bringing testing, bringing TDD and quality and so on. And then I started LangWatch 2.5 to 3 years ago to embark on this journey on how do we handle quality on this non-deterministic new world of using LLMs and building agents, right? So I'm going to jump straight into it. First, just to give it a little bit of introduction on what Sergio is going to show us today on how do we make it all automatic. I want to tell a little bit on what is it that we are even automating, right? And we like to summarize all of what it means to do evaluations and simulations and prompt management and all the LLM ops and tracing in a single word, which is the agent development lifecycle, right? So just like software development lifecycle, we have the agent one, which is similar with some key component differences due to the nature of non-determinism, right? Due to the nature that the agent is not the one deciding the next step, and you have pretty loose control of it. So the first division that we like to make is between offline and online evaluations. When people come to you and say, I want to do evaluations, you need to ask back, what do you mean? Which kind of evaluations, right? Because some will be thinking about those experiments that you run offline, and you want to know before you go to production because you're afraid of what's going to happen in production. While some other times you have millions of messages being exchanged with real users in production, and you want to know that something weird is not going on. You want to add some guardrails, and those are the online evaluations. But regardless, the flow is a cycle, right? So it pretty much flows like this. You have some test data, some examples, or some scenarios for your agent simulations to test that your agent is doing the right thing. You take this data set, you take these scenarios, and you create experiments with them. So you can test that your whole system, that you can test that your prompt and that your RAG, and then all the pieces of your agent are doing a good job. So if they are behaving correctly according to a judge, according to a path, or if, for example, if you're doing RAG, if the accuracy of the answers is as high as it can be, right? So you define those experiments, and then you can evaluate your agent. If you have this, you solve so many problems on confidence, on being sure that when you change a prompt, or when you change a model, that or you change a vector database or multi-agent system, MCP or whatever, that this is bringing a better quality and it is not causing regression, right? By iterating on this and running this, then at some point it gives you enough confidence that you can deploy to production. But once you get in production, we all know that it's a different story. Users are going to use it differently. If you have a lot of traffic, there are so many edge cases that are uncovered. So you need also to have guardrails around those for the most extreme problems to not happen. You need to have tracing. So first of all, you can do some product analytics and understanding what's going on, but also so you can do monitoring, right? So you need some online evaluations on top of that. So maybe some of the same evaluators that you were doing experiments, maybe you want to check also live as they go. And then you want to debug those issues that happen so that you can bring those test cases back, or a domain expert can bring those test cases back to the data set so that the AI engineers can fix those issues. So all that is so far how the industry have been maturing on the agent development lifecycle. Most companies are still early on this journey, or doesn't have this, let's say, formally defined, right? So we're figuring out even how is the equivalent of a unit test on agents, and how do we do that with Evals, with agent simulations. And the other thing is that all that is a lot of work, right? So preparing a data set, doing an experiment, building an evaluator, making sure you trust it, then change it again, getting the data from production, all that is a lot of work. But we are AI engineers, right? So can we automate that? The one big challenge here is that it's very technical. However, we do have now a tool on our hands that is maybe the greatest developer that I've met, and that's Claude. And now with the rise of skills, it's very easy for us to bring a lot of knowledge on how to do things with skills. So with having that introduction said, now I'll give the floor to Sergio, which will show you how to automate all that.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen a little bit. Screen, step one, go. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Let me see.
I'm guessing he pressed the wrong button. Should be back in a sec. Meanwhile, any questions, any wonders, any jokes? Question for the end from Evo. I love the product. We're using LangWatch as part of a niche consulting offering that we're putting together. Have you guys thought about partner program? Oh, that's nice. Yeah, we should definitely talk, Evo. Oh, Sergio has his hand. Sorry, I need to promote you to attendee again. Promote to panelist. Yes, for sure. We do have a partner program, especially with consultancies. Let's meet up after the webinar, after the call. Sergio, you should be able to join as a panelist now. There he is.
Unmute. I should be able indeed, and then you should be able also to see my screen. Can you see my screen, by the way?
We can. We see LangWatch and then API key. Or waiting for the first trace.
Yeah, exactly. So let me first give a brief introduction of like how to connect what you just said with what I'm going to show, guys. First of all, as Jerry said, we have different ways to instrument and give tools to our solutions. right? So we can actually have different ways to do it. One of those is the code assistance that we already automated the process to instrument our solutions, and the other one is the chat assistance, right? And the way that we can automate this process is by giving prompts connected to the MCPs or the skills that we already developed in LangWatch. How is that even possible that we can actually do it? Then the solution and always the answer is the right documentation. So here, for example, if you want to provide all the tools for the agents that you are developing, you can have to go here and choose the ones that you want. I currently set up a project right here. You can see my cloud code, and here you can see, for example, the start. An agent that I previously developed is a super simple agent that is using the framework master and is providing some information about the weather. As you can see, it's quite accurate
Can you show? Okay,
yeah?
Can you show a little bit of the folder structure? I always like to see to understand the code the way it is right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you can see all this. Yeah, so basically I have a basic agents that we have developed for this example. Is made of the Mastra framework. And clearly you can see, for example, that I have already set up the prompt. I already provided some names. I already defined the tools that I want to use and the models and OpenAI GPT 5.2. I think that you already saw the keys of both. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna delete it after the presentations, but also defines the weather tools that I already defined for me when I ask some questions. It will provide me the information about the weather. Simple, straightforward, using the tools that we currently have, TypeScript, and then right now, for example, we can see if I actually have here Cloud Code. I would like to show my setup. I already have installed the MCP here from LangWatch, and then you can do it from this side, right? So if I want to start using LangWatch, I have two paths, right? Using the code assistant and using the chat assistance. Let's go for the coding assistance that I already have. And let's start by not going straight away for MCP or skill. Let's just like going for a simple prompt that I can provide to the cloud code here. Any question so far? And then I can provide the prompt, which is pretty simple.
No questions so far. But yeah, anyone, please feel free to drop in the chat as Sergio goes. Iran said, please burn our OpenAI key. Yeah, no worries. We're going to delete it after. Don't burn our credits while we're presenting, please.
No, not at all. Also, I must say I'm a really prepared person for this one. I put a limit on this. So
nice.
Really, you can do it. And then you can see, for example, let's go step by step, and it will understand what it's going to do. It will first check if the LangWatch API key is set up. Then it will try to like fetch the LangWatch documentation using all the information that it has from there. It will try to understand well how it's gonna succeed in instrument the LangWatch, instrument the agents with language traces, right?
So basically, one thing that this radically changed it for us. Before, we would tell, as people created their account on our platform, we would point them to a technical guide, right? On how is it that you can instrument this framework or that framework. Now, like Sergio is showing, you just paste the prompt. And Sergio even had the MCP already. But if you don't have it, the prompt also installs the MCP, asks you if you want the LangWatch MCP to make things easier, asks you if you want the skills. It fully figures out itself for you, even telling you where you got the API key and so on. And now it's just going in instrument. It fails in the middle, as you can see, but it doesn't matter because it recovers and it keeps going.
Yeah, something that is interesting here that we already missed the part, but is that LangWatch already have information how to instrument your master agents with all the tools. So if it fails, because it doesn't know exactly how master works, but then it will go to the LangWatch documentation through the MCP, and they will say, okay, I can do it like this way. And then since master also have some updates currently, you can actually change it on the way, and Claude will figure it out the way to succeed. And for example, in this case, it was missing the ID. So, yeah, you can see heap of ID is missing, and they will start to like instrument all the agents with the right code. And then from that, we can actually start looking for something different, and then looking for all the cool skills that we have. So we already mentioned all the instrument my agent with OpenTelemetry. We will jump into something more interesting that Roger already mentioned, which is evaluations for my agent and scenario testing. I will like quickly drop in this part here, which is
maybe, sorry, Sergio, before you go to the explanation, do we have some traces to look at yet on the instrumentation? Not yet, but can we see the code that has been done then, just so we see what the agent is doing? And then I wanted to reply a question from Evo. Oh yeah, so yeah, as you can see there, the hotel exporter is already there, right? So it figure out what is the correct way to integrate OpenTelemetry with LangWatch, with Mastra and all that. And then it checks, it compiles, it runs again, it runs some tests until you have a trace there. And then, yeah, maybe you can run some so we see the results on the other end, Sergio. But meanwhile, let me get to the question from Evo.
Yeah.
Is this similar to what you guys had inside Better Agents? Yes, great one, very similar. So for those who don't know, Better Agents is a library created by LangWatch to kickstart your agent project the right way. So all that instrumentation, prompt versioning, scenarios, evaluations, and so on, we build on top of whatever framework that you want. So for example, if you're building with LangGraph, if you're building with Master, if you're building with Agno, we use their documentation to create the new agent. Then we put all this agent lifecycle and better practices on top, right? However, very good note, Ivo. The Better Agents is for kickstarting projects, right? And that gave us a ton of learnings. Those learnings is what we extracted and now became the LangWatch skills and those prompts that you can just copy paste. So we have perfected it from there, and now they're even simpler to use. So it's not even a library or CLI, it's literally just a prompt that self-installs itself with the skills. Better Agents is still there and it's going to be updated for starting new projects, while the skills is for you to use on your existing projects. So even after everything's done, you can can you add this other evaluation or this other data set, right? Then the next question, do you have clients today using LangWatch for MCP skills, etc.? Yes. If yes, who are those users? That's a great question because we have actually an interesting it's mostly devs, right, using the MCPs and the skills. But and then we have the platform, and we have an amazing collaboration UX on the platform too. But more and more, we're getting non-devs, we're getting CEOs even using the MCP and using the skills to create, for example, scenarios. So more and more, the domain experts and the PMs and the POs, they want to be involved in defining those. And we have customers, and that's why you see the chat assistant path. We have customers using the MCP on pure chat interface. So like Claude.ai, not Claude Code, or ChatGPT even, because it can integrate there and you can create the tests and the evaluators there. And they like to do that because talking to Claude AI daily is already part of the workflow. It already has the memory of what they're building. It has the PDFs, right? It has the Excel spreadsheets they uploaded, so it can fully figure out, even without them knowing a single line of code. Sergio, I think maybe run a trace by hand because it didn't show yet. Okay, it's done, right? But it didn't run a trace itself. Maybe let's try. Let's see.
Let's run it. Yeah. This is now the way to actually run it. Yeah, I could have just gone
so
for
lazy.
the other tab. But that's the beauty, indeed. But then also, that also reminds me, for example, let's go back to the code. For example, now it's fully
it fully compiles now, right? There was a bunch of threads. Yeah.
And also something that LangWatch also has is that how you can improve your agents in the way that it is structured. So right now, for example, here I can see the prompt hard-coded in the files agents, right? So I would like to have what it happens if one of the people who works with me also wants to test it, also wants to improve it. It will actually have to talk to me and then, hey, I would like to have this, and then also like let's try to have it in a different way. And that's why, for example, here is the collaboration that we always talk in LangWatch. It's like it's not just about engineering, putting the code in the agent. It's about the whole collaborations between leadership, engineers, domestic expert, and product. So in order to like collaborate to have a better agent. So that's why, and all that introductions for the following, is that I can use, for example, something that is related with prompts, for example, like a version of my prompts. So I can use this one.
You're going to install the skill? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That will be great. And since I'm using Agent Cloud Code, I also use Codex, by the way. So that's why I have to like manually say that is Agent Cloud Code. Otherwise, the symlink doesn't work perfectly. I already reported. Yeah, I already reported this issue to them. It didn't work out as well. I thought it was my laptop.
So skills.
Yeah, and then basically create the skills folder inside the project, and then Cloud Code never found it. There you go. Install, and then I can go here, exactly here, and then say, let's go again. I can see skills. Oh, look at that guy, right? Prompt. And then let's go.
And use prompts. It's just a / language. I don't think it's the same copy button. Yeah, I think I just need to type.
Yeah, let's version my prompt.
There we go.
That we can see.
Successfully loaded skill.
Successfully loaded the skill prompt. And then it's exactly the same process. Either way, we can use like a text as a prompt, or MCP or skills is always the same. We already put the work to automate the process to like understand like what is the best way for like people who is interacting with the code assistant, with the chat assistants. So that's why we can actually see right now simple working.
So yeah, just to explain what's happening here. Now Claude is looking for the prompts that are hard coded on your code base, right? And then it's going to extract them into versionable files, into YAML files, to sync to the LangWatch platform, so non-technical people can also collaborate on them. Right? Yes. Yeah, I think it's going. Meanwhile, did you run a message through? Did we get a trace?
Let's go.
We didn't get a trace. Is it the right project?
It is the right project.
Okay. Double check. Meanwhile, let me answer some of the questions. Juan asked, what is the result of a trained agent? Is it an agent with skills MD or tools MD? What is the actual deliverable? Do you also train the SO MD or memory MD as well? That's interesting. I understand what you're coming from. This memory and SO is a standard from OpenClaw, right? So if you're using OpenClaw, then the deliverable, let's say, of your trained agent, in quotes, is indeed the SO and the memory because you are improving it. However, what most of our clients are doing, they're building agents for their own product, right? So they're using actual coding framework on Python, on TypeScript. And then what they are doing, what they're improving are their prompts. What they're improving is their architecture. And what they're improving is their search, vector database, content, and so on. And this is actually the deliverable. So with those skills, with those optimizations, then it's possible for you to update your model, update your prompts, or update your SO in the case of OpenClaw, and run the tests again, the scenarios again, so you know that this new version is working better than before. Now, for Deep, you said that you joined a bit late. If there's possible TLDR, I don't know if you already caught it from watching here, but what we are doing is we created a very basic agent with nothing, and then we're trying to bring all the best practices of agent development to it. So we want to add prompt management, we want to add evaluations, we want to add tracing, but we don't want to make any efforts for it. So we're showing how to use skills on Claude Code. So you just copy paste the prompt from LangWatch skills, and then it does all those steps. Meanwhile, do you have an update for us, Sergio? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Oh, we have version prompts. Can we see that?
Exactly. So if you remember before, we already have all hard-coded, and then now we are actually collecting and pulling the prompt from the platform. So we will be able to see it here. Oh, nice. Now I have
The prompt is there.
It's there. It's here.
And you can run it from here and test it here. But the cool thing, if you go back, if you expand the prompts folder on the side, on the YAML file, the prompt is also there. So LangWatch has a prompt CLI. If you go to prompts.json and prompts.lock.json, for the developers in the room, the prompt works just like an NPM dependency, right? So you have the prompts locally, and then you can version it with your GitHub, just like code, which is more comfortable for us developers, right? But at the same time, you're syncing back and forth with the platform. So now, Sergio, can you do a change on the prompt on the platform? Let's say you are a domain expert and you came here and you improved this prompt.
Yeah. Let's say, for example, I will ask you for the reply always in Spanish. That would be nice.
Interesting.
That would be a person from the makes expert from my country will say.
Right. So now if you go back and you ask, you can ask it, I made changes to my remote prompt, right? Can you pull it? It's actually one command. It's a LangWatch prompt sync.
Yeah.
That's it. But you can ask the thing. Can you see? Yeah.
Yeah. I think something that is interesting right now that I would actually wanted to show in the terms of like using Cloud Code instead of like going straight to the terminal is like you can always, whatever you don't have experience with the LangWatch platform, you can always ask Cloud Code since already having all the skills, it's already having the MCP. So you can actually ask what you want. And I do some changes, how I can synchronize my prompts because I don't know how to do it with the CLI.
Exactly. Exactly. It seemed that it didn't detect the change though. Did you publish? You did, right?
Let me see.
Oh, I see. Because you're using from local, you actually need to use it from remote. Can you go back? Can you go back? Copy the API there. Yeah. You need to the name weather agent, just weather agent, weather agent. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. Can and just say it. Can you actually use it from remote instead of local? Yeah.
This one. Here.
And then and then to do. Meanwhile, I will answer some of the questions here. So Norbert, sorry, folks accumulating the questions, but I'll try to go to them fast. When we define evaluation scenarios, how to make sure those scenarios actually represent real user behaviors and not just simplify test case? How do you engineer construct validity with scenario framework? That's a great question. So the first recommendation that you give is to always to TDD it, right? So as you're building, especially now, we're building Cloud Code, and Sergio, maybe you can demonstrate the next. Can you, if you ask it to add scenario tests while I'm replying the questions, then we can show to people. But before you develop any feature on your agent, like, right, I want my agent to escalate to a human being if the customer is angry, for example, that's a feature, right? Before you even do that, you should ask it to have a scenario test case. So you see that your current agent doesn't already handle it. So you do this case, then you implement it. So Cloud Code will do both for you at the same time. So then when it will run this test and then it will prove that that functionality is in. Of course, just like as we are testing our agents, we think of edge cases, right? And we test it in different ways. The problem is that everyone is doing that right now by hand. So people are already doing that, but they're doing by hand. They're doing these test cases, this simplified test cases, as you said, but it's the best proxy that we have before going to the first time in production. But then I'd recommend you to get examples, if you have it already, from your real users, from your real production users, and create the scenarios out of those, especially if you have already a document, a spreadsheet with a lot of examples or traces already from production. You can tell Cloud Code to use all that to create the best scenarios possible and involve preferably your domain experts as well. As you then go to production, always real world is more complex than we think, right? And that's why you should first launch to a beta group, and then you should start collecting this data. But then you can create automatic filters that will grab those cases that were not captured and then make them new scenarios. This is what we call the vibe eval loop. You keep improving the agent and you keep getting those new examples. And then over time, you have just a more and more robust agent that you can only move forward and that will never regress, because all those little features, all those functionalities that you added, they are now completely covered. Now, any GitHub for this code, we can share at the end, right, Sergio? We can share this code snippet. We'll share also all LangWatch code base, also open source. How is LangWatch helpful for beginner? What cool stuff it has since I'm getting started with AI Evals for Reg, SQL database, and the scenario I'll be. Do you have any open source version to try? Yes. LangWatch is completely open. So all this that Sergio is doing, you can start today with a free account. It allows you to create a few scenarios. And you can use also on premises if you need, for your company has some security concerns over there. And how can it help? Well, what we're showing here now, all these tools, all these skills basically make your Cloud Code an expert AI engineer, right? AI Evals engineer. So you can use it, first of all, to just facilitate your work and bring it to the next level, but also you can chat with it, right? So you can learn a lot from the best practices, from the ways to do things, and have an iterative loop with Claude on how can I improve my agent? How is the next step? Now pausing back, Sergio, do you have anything to update to us?
I have a great update. Now I actually can reply always in Spanish. That's
Nice.
always good. Yeah. And also I have already configured, while you were explaining all the part from the people attending, I already installed the skills for evaluations and skills for scenarios. So right now, for example, we will here, we will see everything like completely aligned, as you might imagine. Here, both prompts are aligned, and then I can see it here. Also, it will start creating the agents. You can see it here.
Are you running those in parallel? The scenario and the evaluation? You can do it in parallel, right?
Of course,
Yeah.
we in LangWatch, we truly believe in level 7 we are right now, right? Running in parallel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, yeah.
Here,
Also to save some time, just ask it to do the scenarios while we are waiting for the evals. Yeah.
Yeah, evaluations set up. We can do it like this. I think this
also
one.
the CI pipeline.
Yeah, no, wait. I need to exit this one because I installed the other one in a different terminal. So it wouldn't recognize that I have it. No, I should actually use this one. Or maybe
Let's set up the CI later.
Yeah, otherwise it will take ages to show all the benefits. But in this one, I'm already creating this experiment, which you probably can see right now.
Oh,
here.
it's running.
Already done.
Can we see the code of the experiment?
For sure we can do.
There you go. So we have a data set, right? And we have an experiment loop.
Exactly. And then we will have everything compared with something that we already created, and then language detection, and then you must reply in Spanish. And then we will have the evaluation that here's the evaluator, language evaluation.
And LLM as a judge.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is a good time for all of us to understand a little bit of this. Here, for example, like as Rogerio mentioned before, we have evaluations, right? So the evaluations that you want to perform evaluations before running to productions, right? So I'm going to keep it like super short, but an experiment is one part of those, and then executes a target on each dataset row that scores that results. And then, for example, that the target can be a prompt, a model, an API, a code. And then the dataset is something that you create for this. Test cases then defines an input and also optionally an output. And then the building block here is the evaluator, which is a scoring function that assesses the output. And then when do you want to use this is when you want to test your agent, when you want to perform some benchmark, compare the models, get in the CI, which one can demonstrate in other occasions. And then we can move towards the online monitoring, which is more for productions, and then the guardrails. And then see, the question here is always like, okay, since the evaluator is the building blocks, what kind of evaluators do I have? Well, LangWatch provides built-in evaluators. That is a standard evaluation method. You also have the way to create evaluators with your team in the UI. So those are the sales evaluators. And also for domain-specific metrics, you have the ability to create custom scoring. And then you will ask yourself, like, when do I want to use this? And then evaluate your rec, for example. Validate the output structure, check answer accuracy, custom evaluation prompt. And then we go back here.
Let's see.
Yes.
On evaluations. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But let's see here, for example. Okay. I
we
think we want too much
evaluation.
things. Yeah, too many things in advance. So
That's
right now,
okay.
for example, here, for example, I think it will create language, probably formatting.
That was an error, but it's a start.
Yeah.
Oh, there's also things popping up. Scenario.
Yeah, a scenario. We can have a basic query. Yeah, I think
too many things going on.
Yeah, but the cool things is that we'll figure it out, each one of those. Again, for example, if I have configure everything, this is a scenario, I think.
So can you show the scenario while the scenario is running? Because I think it's cool to see real time. Yeah, can you go the scenario, the actual result on yeah. Oh, it's running. Oh yeah, because it's still configuring it. There is an error, but it's going to figure out, right? But
it figured out. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it already started running again. Maybe to fix this time. No, still figuring it out.
But for example, here we'll notice that the judge is not the correct one. So for example, here we will see in somewhat this part.
On the first tab.
And then it will say
different version. Let me fix it. It's fixing. A model is required.
Exactly. For example, the same errors that you have here, you say, okay, I detected the error, and then it will good. The default configuration let me fix the configuration. Oh, I noticed that I passed it directly to the judge. I need to use this one. All right.
Yeah. So you don't need to worry about those errors. The Claude code is just fixing it. If you can show the scenario meanwhile, because even with errors, I think we can see the code and understand what is the scenario, right, for evaluating the agents. Weather agent test, I think, below. Yeah, below that one? No, that test file?
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we define the adapter and then we define the scenarios that we want to run. You want to go yourself?
Yeah, no, just a quick overview on what we kept saying scenarios, right? And agent simulations and so on. So this is a LangWatch framework that is a way for you to test multi-turn agents. So here you have a basic weather query. And what you do is you define a scenario. A scenario is a simulation where 3 people participate. The user simulator agent, so someone pretending to be a user like your users, then the judge agent that is oversighting the whole conversation and seeing how it's going, and then of course your agent that is replying to the queries of this user simulator user. Of course, your agent doesn't know that the user simulator is a fake agent. It's just going to reply normally, like if it was one of your users. And then you can define a script, right? So here is a very simple script where, let's see it running. You define a script on what the user is going to say, and then how many turns should they go back and forth. And you don't need to define what the users say. They can generate the message, or you can define to reproduce a real world case that happened, right? So in this case here, it's asking, what's the weather like in Madrid? It's running a bunch of tests. So that's why the windows keep opening. So you see that the agent reply in Madrid. Right now, it's very, what is despejado, Sergio?
Sorry?
What does despejado means? It's mayamente despejado.
Despejado is clear.
It's clear.
Maymente.
Okay.
Yeah, maymente. That's actually not consent. More than a short fire. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can see where Sergio is showing there. Yeah, can you go back on the previous one? Yeah, that most of the criteria passed, right? So the agent replied entirely in Spanish, the temperature, humidity, wind speed, but the response was not concise. And this was one of our requirements, right? These requirements is defined in the scenario test. If you go back, you see on the criteria, line 38, it says that it should be concise. And the agent, and like we didn't write any of that right now, right? That was the skills, the Claude Code using the skills to learn on how to write scenarios, knowing the best practices, learning about your code base, your agent. It also looks at Git logs, and it looks at all the history of things that you've been building so far and why, and try to derive what is the best criteria to put in there. Then, of course, it's your job to go and double check it, right? And look at like, okay, this seems good. Because what Claude Code is going to do is that's never going to stop until it's all green, as you can see here right now, right? So this is a simulation, and now it passes all the criteria that you defined together with it, and now it defines the agent as being good. If you disagree, if you look at it and you're like, actually, this is not what I want. Actually, I didn't want just the response of the temperature. I didn't want to be concise. I want to be verbose. That is okay. You can just tell the same Claude, like, no, change my agent to be verbose. It will change the tests. It will rerun it. It will fail. Then it will fix the prompt, upload the new prompt, and then it will run the tests again, right? And then for the evaluations part, Sergio, I think that's not fixed yet, right? I think it didn't rerun that, but I wanted to show something else. If you go back, no, on the platform, because I want to answer the questions from the chat. So if you go on the platform on evaluations and create a new experiment from there, a new experiment. Yeah, exactly. And you can put our prompt there just to test it. Yeah, and run it once. This is one thing that I want to show from LangWatch as well. The LangWatch allows you to create those experiments and those scenarios also via the platform. So there is a great collaboration between technical and non-technical as well. And all those things is accessible from the code and vice versa. And this is the main answer to the questions. And people ask, how does LangWatch compare to other prompt management tracing platforms like LangFuse and Portkey Arize? So LangFuse mostly focuses on tracing. So just yeah, of course, it's obviously there on LangWatch as well, but it's mostly for production only, right? So LangFuse has some cookbooks and some basic code snippets for you to run basic evaluations. But what LangWatch brings to the table is this greater collaboration and the most advanced evaluations framework, and the only platform to provide the agent simulations. And then on top of that, now we provide all this tooling for Claude Code, so you actually don't need to operate that yourself. So it's just a much easier platform to use in that sense, because our focus really is on the agent quality, right? And not just on observability. Although when you are going to debug a simulation, maybe you can show that on the simulation, Sergio. If you click on the one that failed, for example, any of them. No, on the simulation.
On the simulation.
Yes. Yeah, go back one step. Yeah. Any of them? If you click on one
that fail. Oh.
Yeah, for example. You can click on view trace. And then you can fully debug and you see what happened behind the scenes, right? So the power of scenarios is that not only you are seeing the trace and debugging what's happening, but the judge agent also see that. They have the same information as you do. So it's seeing everything here and it explores, so it understands if there was a success or not. Now, following up with the questions, because we accumulated quite a few, in your scenario framework, how do you go from something abstract like helpfulness or quality to concrete checks that actually mean that and not just approximate it? That's a great question. I completely dislike helpfulness and quality evaluators. They don't mean anything. People see like helpfulness 84. What does that mean, right? We don't believe in that. So like I showed on the criteria there, or Sergio was showing, you define just black and white, right? Like, is the answer, did it provide next steps to the user, right? And all those are either a success and a failure. And those are criteria that came from the business. And those can still be subjective, of course, because, for example, conciseness, if it's a one-page long text is obviously not concise, but in other case can be more subjective, but those can be tuned and adjusted. And we really believe that it's the responsibility of the domain expert to participate on the team process and tune also those evaluators. So on that screen that Sergio showed for evaluations, it's very easy for you to rerun an evaluator. So if you don't agree what with an LLM judge is saying, you should change the prompt of the LLM as a judge. So we also have features for you to judge the judge. So it's very aligned with you. And after you have done this work, it is work for the team. But after you've done it, then you have something very reliable that you can also have it monitor in production. So yeah, this is a common question. This is a common topic, and the main way we're solving this is with collaboration. That's why, for example, scenarios is just a chat. It's very easy to read. It's not those magical numbers. It's not very technical numbers like F1 score. People can contribute. But for the devs, for the data scientists, then you also have, of course, F1 score for the RAG when it's a more technical optimization, right? Is the prompt using the prompts feature of MCP? As you know, MCP servers support tools, resources, and prompts, but I haven't seen reviews. No, that doesn't use the MCP prompts. I think what the MCP prompts were, I think you need to disable this evaluator, Sergio. I think it's just not a good not a good one. But what the prompts in MCPs were made for, I think they were made to do the same thing that skills do today. But skills were just a much more successful implementation of that. So no, those prompts that we're referring to is the prompts of your own agent that lives on your code and in the LangWatch platform if you sync them, right? On the MCP, we only use tools, but we have a tool that allows you to create prompts on the platform and manage them. This is how even non-technical stakeholders, like you're saying, non-technical clients, they're managing LangWatch prompts, even via Claude AI, for example. Yes, then, and on online Evals, how to define a trigger for a specific workflow case? I mean, user sends a question from Arthur, by the way, sorry. I mean, user sends a certain message that agent must react in a certain way, use A, B, C, how to identify this trigger on specific eval. That's a great question. I think what you're saying here is very well suited for a scenario. It can be done on evaluations as well, but it seems like you're talking about a multi-turn and multi-agent workflow there, and that you want to verify that something correct happened in the middle. Like I said, you could, so on scenarios, you can literally just check by hand, right? You can write some Python code or TypeScript code and check that this two were called, that two were called, and you fully remove the non-deterministic part of it. So you can really prove it, right? And you can do that with evaluations too. You can ask the Claude skills to do that. However, even easier and more open and more powerful is using the judge agent, which is already there on simulation, is already have been enhanced for that. Because the judge agent can see the full trace, the full telemetry, and then it can tell you exactly what happened and what failed. So you can check those things. And the reason we recommend this and not, there are some other frameworks in the past that I think it really didn't work. They try to check if the agent follow a certain path. And I think that's a mistake, because the whole point of agents is that they can follow 10 different paths and still arrive at the same goal, right? So what you want to see is that it arrived at the goal and that the path is not a crazy path, right? It's not doing something that it shouldn't, but that something is very open. The more flexible you go, then I would recommend Scenario as the perfect tool for that. Then a question from Enrique. To generate these Evals scenarios, do I need to always have the code base of my agents, or if I pass the endpoint is enough? Great question. You don't need to have the code base. So from LangWatch, the platform, for example, you can create evaluations and simulations that talk via HTTP. So then you can evaluate those agents there. And because OpenTelemetry distributed tracing, you can even have access to what happened inside the agent, even if you don't have access to the code, right? And if it needs to have access to the code base, well, you need to give it something to work with, right? Like, what does it mean for my agent? What do I want my agent to do? What are the examples? But since we are in the era of agents and all those accept PDFs and markdowns and Excel spreadsheet, you can just throw documents at it. That's what I would recommend, actually. Throw a bunch of documents at it, explain your situation, explain yourself. It will build a nice data set for you, or it will build nice scenario evaluations. And then, it doesn't need your code base to do that. Now, stopping here for a bit with the questions. Sergio, any update for us? How is it going with our agent?
The agent actually completed all the, let me show you the terminal at least, then we can actually show. So we asked them to create all the scenarios. It went well.
Nice.
I think most of the things that we can recap is that we have the prompt already version, right? We already created the building blocks that were already mentioned, which is conciseness, weather completeness, response relevancy, and then detection of the language, which is the evaluators. And then I think here we will have some experiments running, but I think some of them didn't go that well. We can see them.
It's better now.
That's better now.
You didn't add your API key to the platform. Can you do that, or can you ask Claude to do that? That's also okay.
That's also actually.
Yeah. Can you set up my OpenAI model provider on the platform?
Yeah. So.
So if you send this and go back to the platform, just to show folks that it's empty. Yeah, go there, model providers. Yeah, you didn't set up, and that's why the evaluations didn't run, right? Because you're running these evaluations on the platform. Yeah, unfortunately, Claude didn't figure that one out, so that's something to improve. But found your key. So he found your key and uploaded it, and there it is. Oh. So now you have OpenAI. That's nice. So now ask it to run the evaluation again.
Yeah, there is no need for more clicks.
I think the other tab, right? That you were chatting about.
I think this one was it?
Yeah. Just say run it again. Yeah. Okay. So now you're just a manager. You don't need to, right?
Exactly. That's the beauty of these days. And then also the traces are arriving. We can also have a full information traceability here. We can debug everything that we have been doing. Errors, scenarios.
Nice. So we have our agent new traces arriving. En Madrid ahora mismo. This is the evaluation, right? Or is this a scenario? Yeah, you can see all the tool calls, it's going 3 minutes ago. Oh, it didn't run again. Can you check?
I think that's the other terminal.
Cloud code. Why? Should be running. Maybe it will take a while. Anyway, meanwhile, while the evaluations results are arriving and Sergio's checking, Alban has a question. This is a question regarding scenarios and evaluations. How do you ensure the level of completeness? Just like autonomous graphs, how do you update the new scenarios which are not accounted after the agent is deployed to production? So great question. I think I briefly touched on it. The same MCP that you see here and the same skills it also has access to your scenario. So Sergio, can you give an example? Just get the trace ID and then ask Claude to add a scenario for that case, right? Find a problematic one and then say, oh, it's running. Okay, nice. Now we have results, 0.74. Yep. And the timing and the score. All right, let's leave this running, but do that. Get a trace and ask it to create a new scenario for that trace. Yeah, I think you have to, you have to go from, maybe you go from simulation page. So as you find those cases, just to reply to you, Alban, as you find those cases, you can add new scenarios. Our recommendation is to, first, that you have a domain expert, someone that is in charge to reviewing those in production, and then second, that you facilitate their jobs by having some sort of automations there. And just like these evaluations that Sergio showed, you can put it as online evaluations as well. So one example is, let's say you want to identify when user asks something and your agent says, I don't know, right? Because it doesn't have a document, it was never prompted or so on. So you want to identify the gaps. You can add an LLM as a judge that detects that every time that the agent says, I don't know, I want to throw it to this annotation queue, or I want to throw it to this data set. And then over the days, this data set is going to accumulate, and now you have a full set of data to bring it back to your evaluations, to bring it back to your simulations. And like we are showing here, you can do that with the skills as well. Do you have a trace ID, Sergio? There you go.
You want to trace from the
for example. Yeah. Just to exemplify, it will be the same because it's already coming from a simulation, but you could say, can you add another scenario for this trace that broke, right? And that's it. And that's how you keep iterating. While it does that, yeah, there you go. Can you add another scenario for this? As easy as that. So it has a tool to go to LangWatch, understand what's happening, understand the problem, maybe you help it with some of your own perspective, right? And then, it's getting the trace, it's learning from it, and then it's going to do a scenario. Question from George, is it compatible? And we're closing off, people. So yeah, thank you very much for all the participation and all the questions. I'm going to try to answer those questions, and then we're going to do a recap. If you can, please stay with us a little bit longer, because I think we're going to be a couple minutes over time. So George question is it compatible with agents building AWS Bedrock? Yes. Any limitations with stack builds in AWS in general? No. And what have you built agents using the Get Shit Done Cloud Code framework? Will Claude access all the markdown files in planning phase to define the test criteria? Yes, planning phases are great. Claude does have access to everything. I do recommend everyone to use the planning mode before they start, if they're not yet. We just wanted to demonstrate things a bit faster here, but yeah, it's a better way.
It is a better way indeed.
Yeah, and it does have access to the tools. As for the AWS questions and Bedrock, let's say most of our enterprise clients, they're either AWS Bedrock or Azure or Google, right? It's always one of those three. But actually, like, we're just compatible with any LLM. So basically all providers out there, except those three specials, they follow the OpenAI standard, and we are compatible with all light LLM integrations, with all Vercel AI integrations as well, and any OpenAI compatible endpoints. So it's basically just all LLMs. And for scenario, there is even a wrapper. So you can even use scenario. For example, how do we test those skills? We have a scenario for ourselves, for a scenario, the test scenario, through Cloud Code. So this test that Sergio is doing now by hand, we have an automated pipeline that is testing the skills all the time. And this is a simple layer of adapter on top of Cloud Code. So even Cloud Code is compatible. Any agent, really, you just need a few lines of adapter, and Cloud Code can write the adapter for you. Then another question from George. How does LangWatch keep to date with the latest practices with building and evaluating agents, new features and new practices are constantly being released? How can you rely on LangWatch to provide outdated advice and improvements? Yes. So, I mean, I believe the best way that we learn, and that's why we learn so much, is because we're helping so many clients out there, right? So people from all over the world literally coming to us on helping them delivering better agents, on helping them with the best practices and with the agent development lifecycle. And each customer that we go in and we help in onboarding on the platform, we learn a bunch, we learn a ton. And this is why the platform is so featureful now, because we've handled several cases from very deterministic, very restricted domains and healthcare, for example, to very young startup processing millions of messages and doing some more creative work, right? So that's the best way that we learn. And yeah, we love to do it, we keep at it. And this is how we can keep being always up to date. But also we've been using a lot of agents to keep making sure our docs are up to date, our skills are up to date, and everything in between. Does LangWatch work with OpenRouter? Yes. OpenRouter is also OpenAI-compatible. So yes, but we do have a native OpenRouter even. What is the difference between LangFuse and LangWatch, and are they complementary or redundant? Yes, they can be complementary. So LangFuse full focus is on traces, right? So if you have millions of traces, then it might be an interesting tool. However, LangWatch does have traces as well, so you can have it all in one. But we do have customers that use this combination just because they met LangWatch later. But LangWatch is more powerful for the evaluations and the tests of your agents. Any suggestions for checking or real-time guardrails for agents adhere to the design? Any quantitative measure for agent adherence? I'm trying to build my own. Any suggestion on inputs? Greatly appreciated. Yes, Manish. So I think I'm not sure if real-time guardrails are the best here. I do think it's better if you start with scenarios and you have those tests before production, so you know that they are adhering to what they were designed. It's hard to ask another LLM, right, to check if the work of the first LLM was if it made sense on what it was defined. What I would suggest to you is, if you want to do that, is to collect a bunch of cases, a bunch of positive and negative cases, and start working on your evaluator. So use the evaluator workbench and then tailor your judge to detect this behavior adherence that you want. Keep tuning your prompt on that. I would think it's easier if you learn from the scenarios that you already created, and then you pick up all of those, and that's your judge, right? On what does adherence means. It means basically all those rules that we discovered during development time. Then I hope it helps, but maybe we can chat more. David, could you guys share with us that evaluation prompt? Yes, let me share the screen actually. No, I'll share later. So Sergio, if you can summarize what we did, I'll share the link right now on the here code prompts.
Exactly.
So if you go,
I already also replied to him by using the platform. He can also use it, but you can share the link as well, Rogerio. I also
awesome.
for
Yes,
Beren van Newland.
I shared the link to the docs. So if you go to docs, LangWatch docs, and you find the skills area on the code prompts, there's all the prompts that we used. It's just there's a prompt to create skills, there's a prompt to create simulations, and so on. Why do you guys mainly use Cloud Code as opposed to Cursor or having Codex? It's simply like we use everything in here, but Cursor is consistently the best on delivering results. It's as simple as that. And David, yes, thank you, Sergio. You replied to other questions. So let's wrap it up. I know that we are over time. Thank you very much for all of us that stayed along. Maybe let's wrap it up. What did we do, Sergio? What does our agent have now? And
yes, right now, exactly. Right now we are just finally instrumented our agent with the LangWatch observability. Also, we give him the ability to have some evaluations. We are already providing some building blocks as evaluators in different topics that were already defined. We added a scenario to test all the parts that we want to test. And for later, it provides, I think it will be a nice time to if anyone has a question, so like, how do I create the red teaming? I will suggest to stay tuned. Probably we will have some more news on that topic. And then, yeah, we also tested prompts, skills, and MCP.
Awesome. And yeah, so check it out, guys. And if you like what you see, please give us a star on LangWatch. It project. It really helps. And yeah, to correct myself, I meant Cloud Code. Cloud Code delivers better results in our own building experience, not Cursor.
Yeah.
Yes. So wrapping it up, feel free to reach out to us at any time. You can find us in our communities. You can find us on GitHub. You can create your project now and start instrumenting your evaluation. Don't forget to give a star there on our repository. And we will send the links of all those things to everyone that participated via email as well. So check your inboxes. And yeah, thank you very much. And see you next time on the next webinar, where we'll probably show about
Thank you,
red teaming.
everyone. Yeah, something that probably you are more interested, guys. Also, by the way, I also share our tools, personal tool, which is Kanban Code. Don't forget to try it. Since you're already asking course on Cloud Code, I will give a heads up to Rogerio for developing that tool.
Awesome. Thank you
Okay,
very
ciao,
much. Yeah,
ciao.
thank you. Thank you, Arthur, Oleg, Aaron, Raymond, Ivo. Thank you very much. Ciao,
Ciao,
ciao.
ciao.